So this week is week 13, and it's really a continuation of the slides that we were doing last week. So if I go back, and so sorry to do this to y'all, you'll see that this week we're covering finances post-graduation, where to put your money. We're going to talk about credit scores. That should be familiar to all of you, but some students still need this brief. And then some advice from Dr. Altman's. I don't know how many of you ever took his class before he started phased retirement, but he used to teach this class and had great advice. And also some of it comes from the finance management class that he used to teach that I think Dr. Parker is teaching this semester. And for some of y'all, you're going to think I already know this, but I'm telling you, some students didn't. And for me, this is a very personal unit because I didn't know any of this and nobody taught me any of this. And I made a ton of mistakes, my husband and I, when we first finished school and got out there. So my hope is that you guys won't make the same mistakes because you'll have this information to look back on, and at least some of the terms are familiar, so you could look those up later. And this also goes with your job offer. How are you going to manage your finances, that paycheck every month? Because y'all are going from maybe part-time work, so a few $100s a month, to a couple thousand or more per month. And how to manage that and how you start out managing that will make a big difference. So we'll start with finances post-graduation. Apologies that I have to flip through all this to get there. So you want to, you've accepted a job and now you're like, what am I going to do with my paychecks and all this money? You don't want to waste it. So first you're going to think about your lifestyle goals. And I think this is where the class starts to also come full circle. For those of y'all who have been attentive, remember that we talked about goals for post-graduation back, in the first week or two of class. You guys listed out some of your goals and why those things were important to you. A lot of y'all wanted to have a family, whether you were married or had kids, whatever that might look like. You wanted to be able to support a family. But maybe you want to stay single and your salary would need to possibly be different and how you manage your money is going to look different. You want to have children or not, and how soon? Do you want to get a good nest egg going? That means your savings might be something you focus even more on. Do you want to own a house or own land or your own business? All of those things take very intentional saving and goal setting. And I really am hoping this is, starting to you'll see how all this fits together now. Do you want to travel a lot? Are you a person who wants to go explore and not just travel in the United States, but maybe you want to travel outside the United States? What kind of job will that take that will allow you to do that? What kind of money will that take? And how much saving do you need to do based on specific salaries? Do you want to retire early? I know that a lot of state employees retire in their mid-50s because we started as employees when we were 22. So we could retire at 52, technically. You're going to have specific kinds of savings accounts to do that. Or if you're a state employee, you could retire, not work 6 months, and then go temp for the state and pretty much make the same amount of money as you made before with way less responsibility. But your retirement plans matter. All of these things matter, and they feel, I know for y'all, so overwhelming right now. And life can take a lot of turns. But at least having an idea of what your goals are around these help. If you want to be single for a while, you're not seeing anyone, your lifestyle may be different. I have a friend who's single and, we as state employees get paid once a month. And right after payday, she's like, I have $100 left. And that's not because she doesn't plan her money well. She'd done her monthly grocery shopping, all that. A lot of us shop by month instead of week because of how we're paid. But she said, I have $100 left for the month. And I was like, why? I don't even get that. But then I remembered she's single. I'm not. So my financial situation is going to be different than hers. So you got to think about that. By no means do I mean race out and get married. But what I'm saying about your lifestyle is, are you going to have a roommate to offset the cost? Or are you going to find a place to live maybe that's a little less expensive so the commute is different? Think about your lifestyle when you're thinking about your finances, when you're getting that paycheck. And consider what money you need to make those happen. If you want to do all these things, it's going to take a lot of money. So you'll have to prioritize your list. But typically students are focusing on the getting married, when I want to retire, do I want to have a house, mostly. And then you've got to create your plan. There are a lot of resources to do this, but we know just saving. And we'll talk about how you could save. So There's priorities for where to put your money if you want to save, if you just want to be good with your finances. First and foremost, and hopefully you've already made your budget when you were considering the job and what kind of pay rates you need, but pay all your bills on time. Those should be in your budget already. Some people sit down and pay all their bills once a month. Some people pay them as they come in. Depending on when you get paid is how you're probably going to do that, but pay them all on time. That's going to establish good credit. And now we're lucky enough that a lot of the credit agencies will allow your utility bills to go towards your credit as well. So you could really start establishing credit without getting tons of credit cards. You want to get a 401k company match. That's when whatever you put in, the company puts in an equal amount. Sometimes the company puts in a partial of what you're putting in. Depends on where you are. But as much of a match as you can get. Put your money into that. There is a max, and I'm blanking on the number right now of how much you can put in a month. Per year. There's a max on how much you can put in per year. None of y'all are going to hit that max when you first start out, so don't stress about it. But max it as high as you can. So a lot of people make sure their bonuses go there. If they get raises, they keep living how they are and keep putting money towards that 401k because that's your retirement. If you have a company that matches, you definitely want to put in as much as you can because they'll give you equal amount into the 401k that wasn't out of your own money. Next, and you probably heard this from like Dave Ramsey or Susie Orman, but it's just good common sense, y'all. Save 3 to 6 months expenses for an emergency fund, okay? This is if your company goes under. They cut a bunch of employees. For some people right now, they need this because they might not be able to go to work for 2 to 4 weeks, because of the virus. So having that money in case something happens is really, really important. It will allow you to resolve whatever's happening with less stress, okay? So you get your paycheck and you've pinpointed how much your bills are. Maybe you have a roommate, so all your bills per month are $1,000, including your loans and all that. And then you're gonna put $200 a month into your 401k. Now, let's say you're getting $2,000 a month. That means you have $800 left. How much can you save per month to add towards that emergency fund? And these 3 things should be your primary focus. Once you have 3 to 6 months, you can move on to what you're gonna see below. Pay off your credit card debt, if you have any, okay? Obviously, we know you gotta have a little debt, and I talk about this with Dr. Phillips all the time and how crazy it is, but you've gotta have a little debt to have decent credit, but we know that sweet spot is 30% or less, and ideally, you use 1 or 2 cards and you pay them off at the end of every month. We have one card that we use to rack up miles for Southwest, and we put all of our groceries and gas on that, and we never go over what we would have paid out of pocket for gas and groceries. So I have a certain amount allotted, and I make sure we don't go over, and I pay it every month. It just helps me get those points, which is like free money, and you don't have to just use them on airlines. Last year, I wasn't going to be able to go anywhere by the end of the year, so we used our points, and we got like 7 gift cards for $50 each. So like we were funding people's Christmas gifts without even having to pay anything. We were just getting points. So pay off your credit card debt. If you have any, you want to keep that at 30% or less. If you get into debt, it can really, really cause a problem. That's sort of where we ran into trouble when I first graduated. My parents always spent on credit cards. My husband's parents never had credit cards. No one told us how to use them, so we just didn't understand that we were paying interest, and neither of us were business majors. Y'all have that luxury at least. But focus on paying off your debt if you have some to pay off, okay? Next would be your high interest student loans. The reason student loans comes after credit card debt is usually, there's a couple of reasons actually. One is being that you can get payment plans for those that are related to how much income you bring in. First things first, you can pay less until you can afford to pay more. And second, some people have public service loan forgiveness if you're working in teaching or education or government sector in some capacities. So again, we're focusing on 1 through 3, and then you can start chipping away at these other things. You can max out your Roth IRA, which is yet another account. You can put in up to $5,500 a year. Maybe you work at a company and you get that much in a bonus and you're wondering what to do with it. Great place to go. There's some really handy calculators online that'll tell you how much you need to save a year to retire comfortably. And comfortable is different for each person. I know that I would want to keep at least bringing in what I'm bringing in now. And I want my husband, to have the same based on just our retirement income. And that tells me how much I need to be saving every month. And, including a match and all that. Any other debt you have except your mortgage, pay off. No debt is good debt. But maybe you didn't have health insurance and you have that hospital bill and you're paying $20 a month. And now you've got your emergency fund, you've got your credit cards, and your student loans are paid off, and you're maxing out other retirement accounts. You could pay more than 20 a month on those. I'm not saying let your debt sit. I'm just saying prioritize them in a certain way. And then the extras, saving for a house, car, wedding, putting money in the bank for your future child's education. Now, again, when y'all graduate, you will not be doing all these things. Focus on the first 3, okay? Maybe first 4. Not going to do all these things at once. Credit scores, super, super important. If y'all have a credit card now, you might have a score established, but some of you, it's like you're just invisible on the credit score issue because you've never had a card. So you need to talk to your bank and figure out how you want to handle that. Be sure you understand all the terms, interest rates, etc. You always want to have a credit score of at least 700. That's considered good towards great. It means that high interest rates aren't going to be a problem for you. You're going to be able to get a home loan, a car loan, other credit cards. You're not going to have many problems. Okay. Now keep in mind your credit score is dependent on credit utilization. You don't want to go over 30% of your total credit. But you need that score. Okay. Anything under 700, between 600 or 650 and 700, you can get a home loan. You can get a car loan. It's going to be higher interest, but not the worst ever. 600 to 650, you're going to have some high interest. We're talking about car loan interest rates between like 15 and 20%. That's obscene. A car that could have been $13,000 by the end of paying that is going to be like $30,000. Okay. That's why it's good to pay your debts. Keep your credit score really, really high. Check your credit report every year. I actually rotate my 3 credit reports. So in January, I look at one, and like May, I look at another company's, and like October, I look at another, and I rotate them through. And I have a membership with Experian just to keep an eye on our credit reports. You also want to keep an eye to make sure no one's stolen your identity. Last year, we got a letter that we owed like $3,000 to Verizon, and we've never used them in our lives. Someone had used my husband's social security number and address. Somehow they got it and had opened an account. We were able to prove that it wasn't us, but our credit score for those, it took about 6 months to clear up. Honestly, it took a dip. We had to file a police report. And what if we were trying to buy a home during that time? We would have had to pay that debt to be able to finish that home closing. So keep an eye on your credit just in case. And like I said before, use that credit card that you pay off every month to build your credit. Saving for retirement. You want to look at the Roth IRA and the 401k because it allows you to pay taxes now. So when you are trying to withdraw from that later, when you're retired, you want to supplement your monthly income. You don't pay taxes later. Okay, so that's a really good one. And there's also the traditional, you don't pay taxes now, but when you retire, it's just the reverse. Then you pay taxes every month on what you're getting sent. So look into both of those. You can talk to financial planners, but unless you're a millionaire or opening your own business or have something weird going on, you should be fine without a financial planner. Then other good advice. Okay. Don't buy a brand new car when you first get a job. Brand new cars depreciate the second you drive them off the lot. Get a car that's a year or 2 old that has low mileage. Live cheap. Once you start living more extravagantly, it's really, really hard to lock down. Once you're getting those manicures, getting your highlights, and I'm speaking from experience because I just did 2 years worth of that and spent obscene amounts of money I didn't need to be spending. And this past weekend actually had them, fixed. But live cheaply, okay? And stay used to that. Like have your splurges, but you shouldn't be having splurges every day. If you are a person who believes in this, give that 10%, whether it's to a church or to another organization. Pay yourself first. Sorry, I'm flying. We have like 50 seconds left. Focus on experiences and not things. Experiences and those memories bring you closer to people. You learn new things. Things don't do a lot for you. Again, you only need a financial planner if you are a millionaire starting your own business, but if you get one, they need to be fee only. So they're not focusing on their company's welfare, but your own. And then track your money to see where it goes. If you find you're blowing your money in certain places, for example, my daughter and I last year, we were, once a week going to Starbucks, get coffee, croissant, and then we were starting to treat ourselves like 4 days a week. Tracked my money and realized how much we were wasting. We've gone back to a once a week habit. So yeah. Feel free, like I said, there's going to be a chance for you to submit more questions. I'm sorry I flew by on the end of this. But submit questions you have about kind of post college life finances.